Chapter 6, review for test. So the first questions is asked to determine the slope. And what did we say slope meant? Right, slope meant steepness. It's also called rise over run. Change in y over the change in x. Rate of change. All of those mean the same thing as slopes. When you hear those terms on your STAR test, that's the same as slope. Y-intercept, what does that mean? Yes, that means the point it crosses the y-axis. For you to pick out the slope and the y-intercept, the equation must be in the form y equals mx plus b. Remember I told you this is the equation that describes the line. So with it in that form, y equals, it's easy to choose the slope because the slope is the number or the letter m that's always by the x. And the b is what's added to it. That's the y-intercept. So we can easily pick out the slope from, say, number 3 because the slope is by the x and we see that that is -3. So m is -3. Excuse my m, I have 3 humps. That's how I make it. Now, looking at 1 and 2, you see it's not in the form of y equals. See, y is being, 4x is being added to 4x has been added to y. So you've got to move the 4x to the other side. And remember, when you change something to the other side of the equal sign, the signs change. Now you have y equals -4x minus 1. Okay, now can we pick out our slope? So the slope is -4 and the y-intercept is negative. Now let's look at number 2. You notice the 2x is on the same side of the equal sign as the y. So we have to reorganize and move the 2x to the other side, making it y equals, now it's a -2x plus 12. So you know now when you moved it and you switch sides, it changes the signs of the number. So what is the slope? What is the y-intercept? Think about it. What is the m and what is the b? Okay, now you see the m is -2 here for number 2, and the b is 12. And we've already done number 3. The slope is -3 of the m. So what is the y-intercept for number 3? There's nothing added to it. So our b is 0. So that means it goes to the origin. The b is 0. So looking at number 4, it says, what's the slope of the line containing the 2 points in the table? So the slope means a change in y over the change in x. So we're going to pick 2 points. Let's say we pick x is 1, y is 8, and x is 5, y is 40. So we're going to subtract the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So you see I have written the coordinates 1, 8, x is 1, y is 8, and the coordinates 5, 40. X is 5, y is 40. So we're going to subtract the y's. Then we're going to subtract the x's. So let's just label it so you can see. This is x, y, x, y. It doesn't matter which one you start with, just whatever coordinate you start with, that's what you start with each time. So if I'm going to start with the second coordinate, which is y is 40, when I'm going to subtract 40 from 8, then I'm going to come back to 5, which is the x here, 5 minus 1. So I'm going to subtract like this. Y is 40, so it's 40 minus 8. And what is that? Yes, that's 32. Now for our x's, I got to go back to that same coordinate, 540. So the x value is 5 minus 1. So 5 minus 1 is what? 4. Okay, those were pretty easy because there weren't any negatives. So can you reduce? Can you simplify 4 over 32? Yes, 4 going to 32 8 times. So the answer is the slope is 8 or 8 over 1. That means that it's rise over run. So the change in y is 8. The change in x is 1. Okay? So it's 8 over 1 is the slope for number 4. Looking at number 5. The table below shows the distance traveled by Cindy in X hours. Graph the data, then determine the slope of the line. Explain what slope represents. Okay, now we have, I've read the problem. I went ahead and graphed it. So I went ahead and wrote my coordinates. 1, x is 1, y is 55, and x is 2, y is 110. To find the slope, remember we can subtract the change in our y's, which this is our y's, on the numerator at the top, over the change in x. So if we were to subtract 110 and 55, and we get 55. And we were to subtract 2 minus 1, we're going to get 1. So the change is 55 over 1. So the time for every 1 hour is 55 miles. So for 2 hours, it's 55 plus 55 is 110. 3 hours and so forth. So that is the slope. And what is meant, and explain what the slope represents in time. For every 1 hour, you travel a distance of 55 miles. Okay, so number 6, they want to know if it's linear. Okay, so if you look at number 6, is this a linear relationship? Is it constant? Does it have a constant change? And I've already written the answer down here. No, it does not have a constant change, simply because as x increases by 4, you see x is increasing by 4, but y is increasing by a greater amount. So the first time is increasing by 20, the next time is increasing by 40, the next time is, 20 again, versus by 10, then by 20, and then by 40. So it's increasing by a greater amount, so that's why it's no. So let's look at number 7 here. Is this a linear? Is this a linear representation? Okay, so is the rate of change constant? So let's look at it. So you see x is increasing by 3 each time, right? Each time is by 3. So what's y doing? You see y is increasing by 5. Each time we see that 5 is added. So this is a constant rate of change. It's constant. So this one is yes. Here, number 8 and 9, you're to write the slope that's represented by the table. So all you're doing, you're subtracting the y's, okay? So if you subtract, use these 2 points, and you may, I'll write it down. X is -4, 2. And you see that the y is, x, the other coordinate, is 0 is x, y is -1. Now if we were to subtract, so if we subtract -1 minus 2, don't get confused, -1, look at it, minus 2, so you may have to look at it carefully. So that answer is a -3. So that is the y. So that goes on top, -3. So on the bottom you have 0 minus -4. 2 negatives makes a positive, so that's a +4. So you have a negative slope there. It's a -3, which you would go down 3 to the right 4. Okay? So let's look here at number 9. If you don't want to mess with decimals, just use these 2 points. These are whole numbers. And subtract. So x is 1, y is 8. I'm just going to write it out as a visual so you can see that coordinate. Then x is 2, y is negative 6. Now let's subtract. I can subtract the x first. I can subtract this 8 first or the negative 6. It really doesn't matter, just so you go back to the same one. So I just start here. The y, 8 minus the negative 6. That's going to give us what? Okay, it's 14, right? And now underneath, you're going to start for the x's. You're going to start with 1 now. 1 minus 2 is going to give us a negative 1. So 2 negatives is a positive, so the answer is going to be 14. Or 14 over 1, that is our rate of change. It's 14, 14 over 1. That means the change in y is 14. So now look at number 10. Cecilia has a balance of $80 on her internet music account. She spends $5 each week for the next 5 weeks. If you were to graph the linear relationship, what would be the numerical value of the slope? Write the equation represented by the problem. So what do we see? The slope is what? Right, it is $5 because it says each week. So that's 5x, 5 each week. And what is the y-intercept? What does she start with? Right, she starts with $80 plus 80. So writing the equation is y equals 5x plus 80. That is the equation, and the slope is 5. Starting at number 11, graph. So in order to graph this, we see 3 is the y-intercept. Okay, y equals 3x plus 3. 3, positive 3 is on the y-axis, so we're going to mark 3 on the y-axis. So the slope is 3, positive, so I can go up 3 units, 1, 2, 3, and over 1, because that's understood to be 3 over 1. 1 is a whole number, that's the same as 3 over 1. Or if I went down 3 in a negative, 1, 2, 3, then I've got to go 1 in a negative direction. So now we have the 2 points and we can draw our straight line through it. And then it's a graph. Let's graph this one. Let's look at negative 2x plus 1. The y-intercept is 1. You always start here at the y-intercept, 1. The slope is negative 2. So slope, you know the line is going to be slope slanting downward, like going down a slide. So you know it's going to be downward. So if we go down 2, because we're going to rise over run. So first of all, we got to go up or down. So if we went down 2, which way do we go over? This, so it'd be a slide, we got to go over to the right. So if we went up 2, we got to go over to the left. Okay, because we wanted to make the slide. So you want it to go downward because you see it is a negative slope. And that is the graph. Number 13. Write an equation in the form of, let me finish reading that, y equals mx plus b of the line in the graph. Then give the y-intercept, the slope, and the x-intercept, okay? So let's see, what is the y-intercept? Where it crosses a y, it's called the y-intercept. It crosses it at negative 3. So the y-intercept is negative 3. I'm going to just say y-int as abbreviation. int is equal to negative 3. So what is the slope? The slope is rise over run. So let's count. Okay, so we have to look at where it crosses it exactly. Okay, so it looks like that's right on 5. And you know the y-intercept is right on -3. So if I go up 3, so you see it's a positive slope because it's going up like you're going up a hill, up 3 and over 5. So the slope is m is equal to rise over run, which is 3 over 5. Okay, so now we're going to write the equation. The equation is y equals, what is our slope? 3 over 5 x minus 3. Okay, this concludes the review for the quiz.